Now joined by Jeff Gordon, driver of the number 24 Drive to End Hunger Chevrolet for Hendrick Motorsports. Jeff, welcome here to Daytona International Speedway. Can you tell us what's it like to be back here at the World Center of Racing as we get ready for the 56th running of the Daytona 500?
It's fantastic to be back. Unfortunately, we didn't get to do much today, so that was disappointing to watch it rain all day. But now the excitement's definitely been building. I was saying earlier that I really love, for me, coming off of my vacation and getting to the shop and spending time with Alan and the engineers, and every year that time of year, it's exciting to hear all the things that they've been thinking about and creating ways to make you better as a team, make your cars go faster. With some of the new rules that NASCAR implemented with the cars, with the ride heights especially, just trying to figure out how. We can maximize all those things to our potential. And so, this is exciting to get down here to Daytona, especially with all the hard work that goes into Daytona, of what we have to do to be fast here, be a threat for the pole, which is very important here. And, so when we get on the track, I look forward to seeing those results.
Great. We're going to open up the floor now to questions. We're gonna start over here with Claire B. Lang, then go to Bob Pockers, and then go over here to the front to Ben.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. It was just announced that Steve Letarte is going to go to NBC in 2015. It was officially announced. And I wonder, obviously how do you think he'll do, but what effect will it have on Hendrick Motorsports, on the progress that Dale Jr. will make in 2014, knowing that in 2015 his crew chief will move to the television booth?
Yeah, I think he's going to do fantastic. We all know Steve's a good talker, and he's very knowledgeable about the sport. You're very passionate about it, and so I think they've made an excellent choice there. I think only time will tell how it's going to affect them, but I think Steve's very, very good at compartmentalizing, the commitment and what it takes to do his job as a crew chief and be the best crew chief that he can be. And he and Junior have a great relationship. And, they, I'm sure when the news first broke to Junior, it probably was a bit of an adjustment, but I feel like they've, worked through all the details on how to maintain that level of competition, the momentum that they had from last year, and keep that going through this year.
Let's go to Bob and then up to Ben.
Bob Parker, Sporting News. Were you surprised that Steve opted to move from Hendrick, where he's been for 20 years, to the broadcast booth?
Not necessarily. I've seen him do some work with TV and radio over the last year or two, and so I can't say I was totally surprised. And he's a young man that has a lot of talents and is always eager to take that next step in life. And he has a family. It takes a lot to be a crew chief. It's quite a commitment, and I think this is a great opportunity for him.
Jeff, Ben White with Lexington Dispatch. I'm doing a story on turning points, twist of fate, that kind of thing, where drivers' careers have turned and moved to the next level. The thing that comes to mind for me was 1990 when Rick Hendrick and Humpy Wheeler were watching you drive a Busch car at Atlanta from the stands. I don't know if you recall that story.
Yeah, 91.
Or 91, okay. What would you say, in your opinion, would that be, that twist of fate that got you to where you are as far as today?
There's so many. You don't make it to this level without having some moments that kind of separated you from maybe others in the field and got you that that opportunity. And I look at the successes and the failures. I mean, prior to me being hired by Raleigh Helming to drive on ESPN's Thursday Night Thunder for the night before the 500, which we set a new track record and won that race in fairly spectacular fashion. Prior to that, I was racing for McBride and Schoaf in a sprint car in the All-Star Series and got fired because I was tearing up too much of their equipment and wasn't winning enough. So, to me, that moment where I did not succeed in that sprint car gave me a new opportunity to go and be very successful in a midget and sprint car on pavement in front of a big audience that took my name from being an up-and-coming sprint car driver to being a talent in the open wheel field, as well as a couple of years later being a driver that even an owner in NASCAR would consider. So that was I don't know if it was a specific moment, but I guess winning that race the night before the 500 would be the specific moment.
George and then Rick.
Yeah, Jeff, George Diaz with the Orlando Sentinel. Given everything that happened last season, especially with leading into the chase, have you stopped to reflect and had any kind of takeaway? What's your takeaway from last season, and what do you bring any of that into the following year, or is it a new slate type thing?
Yeah, don't be 11th or 12th in points going into Richmond, or 13th or whatever we were. For me, it's about getting off to a better start. And really, the last two seasons, we have not gotten off to a great start. Some of it in our control, some of it out of our control. I think definitely Vegas is on our radar. We've not run well at Vegas the last couple of years. That has had an impact. Even though it's one race, it still has had an impact on the momentum and our confidence level. Qualifying the last 2 years starting the season weren't great either. So we certainly seem to get that turned around halfway through this past season, and hopefully we can continue that. But I think just getting off to a better start, and that doesn't mean you got to go win first 5 races. It just means try to eliminate the 20th and the 25th and put yourself in position to get those top 10s and hopefully turn those into top 5s or wins, and then get the points, get the momentum, and then run with it. And in some ways, Alan and I have had conversations about maybe we've been too aggressive at the beginning of the year, trying to get off to a great start, and things didn't go well, and we got a little bit behind on saying, okay, let's get back to the basics. So I think we're going to try to blend the basics and some of the new things that we think are going to be successful for us.
Go to Rick, and then we'll come up here up front to Dwight, and then over to Dustin.
Rick Minner from RacingToday.com. Jeff, when you look at the all-time numbers in the Cup Series, it's like you and a bunch of old guys up at the top.
Thank
I'm wondering
you.
when
I appreciate that.
I
shaved this morning because I had a beard that I'd grown for about 3 weeks, and I looked in the mirror and I was like, wow, man, I am really gray. I felt pretty old this morning. I was actually feeling a lot younger after I shaved until now. So
that was kind of my question. When you start a new season, do you feel like a veteran, experienced driver? Do you feel like a young guy still got a lot to prove?
Well, I mean, every time this time of year, I always feel rejuvenated because I've had a break. I feel excited because I see the things my team's working on, all the hard work they've done. It's a fresh start to the season, so I feel young at this moment. But when I roll out of the bed in the morning, I realize that I'm 42 because I have aches and pains that I didn't have 20 years ago. So I'm reminded of my age, but when I get to the track, I'm still as passionate and excited, or if not more so than I've ever been.
Dwight Drum, RaceStake.com. Jeff, you got star power. Shaven or unshaven, you got star power. But
thank you.
Okay, but what would you believe at motorsports champions and celebrities, rock and country stars? What would you believe sets them apart and helps them rise to the top? There are plenty of musicians and actors and
sure
and drivers who never do.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, and I do think there are common denominators among different fields, that seem to separate those that become successful and those that don't. I mean, sometimes it is just a lucky break, but I feel like most of the time it's, first you have to recognize the talent, and then you have to, really work hard at, taking that talent to the next level. And then you got to be at the right place at the right time, and I'd say that a lot of people would probably say the same thing, and that's how it was, for me. I mean, I raced against plenty of kids growing up that I thought were very, very talented, but, they didn't get the breaks, or they weren't at the right place, or maybe they did lack a little bit of that extra effort that it takes to do whatever it takes to make it. So, there's some people that are just super passionate about it, but maybe don't quite have the talent, but they find a way to work harder to make it work. And then there's others that have all the talent in the world and don't put enough effort into it and never make it. So I think it's a combination, but you certainly have to have that lucky break. And I say lucky break, to me, you make your own luck by how much effort you put into it.
Go to Dustin here.
Dustin Long from MR, and you mentioned earlier about the struggles, the beginnings of the season, last couple of years. You talk about being way too aggressive at times. What do you mean by that? Is that setups, what you're doing on the tracks, or
no? Mainly setups. Just on paper, seeing things that are in the sim, in the wind tunnel that you think are gonna be something that separates you. You go, man, this setup just looks amazing on paper. We're going to go super fast with this. And then you get to the track, and there's a sequence of bumps that are upsetting the car such that you're not able to take advantage of that aerodynamic package that you guys came up with. I don't think that it's been over aggressive on the track or in pit calls. It's mainly just been saying, okay, we've got this that is not something that's proven, not something that we've raced before, but we think it's going to be really fast, and you try to race it, and then you go, okay, it didn't work this week, and maybe we try it next week, and then you find yourself saying, oh, maybe it's not as good as we thought it was, and let's start rethinking it. And all of a sudden you're 10, 12 races into the season and you're behind. So, I mean, that's just one small example. I mean, there's many things that we can do, to be better, even at our best. There's some things that as a group we can all do. I mean, I've got to improve my restarts. There's no doubt about that. That's an area I can be more aggressive with, and have a little more of that I don't care what happens through turns 1 and 2 attitude. And then there's areas where maybe we could be more aggressive on our pit calls as well, and on the track position. But then there's other areas where, we were too aggressive. So, it's certainly a combination. But that, with the setups, is one thing that stood out in our minds when we talked, during the off season.
We'll finish it off over here with David.
David Carvell, NASCAR.com. Jeff, to go back to Steve for a minute, I mean, you had a year where you almost won the championship with him in 07. Junior's come alive within the last couple of years. What is Hendrick going to lose just from a crew chief's perspective when he steps away?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we certainly had, high hopes for a long future with Steve. He's been there for a long time, and he's brought a lot to Hendrick Motorsports. He's started, as a kid there and has really grown into, being one of the top crew chiefs. And so, you want to be able to have that experience as well as knowledge. He's a smart guy, and you want to have that on your side in any shape or form, whether he's a crew chief or in another role at Hendrick. So, yeah, to me, the biggest thing that stands out is just how well he and Junior connect, and what the future will be for that position for Junior beyond 14.